The date is March 29, 1987. The Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan trembles with anticipation. Over 93,000 ardent wrestling fans crowd the arena, their collective breath held in suspension. WrestleMania 3 isn't just another wrestling event, it's a cultural phenomenon. And amid the electric atmosphere, a singular figure emerges that epitomizes something quintessentially American. Here is Hillbilly Jim, 6 feet, 7 inches, and over 300 pounds of pure, unvarnished authenticity. No manufactured persona, no calculated marketing scheme, just Jim Morris, a man who would become Hillbilly Jim, stepping into the most significant wrestling spotlight of the 1980s. Wearing overalls and sporting a wild beard, he represents something raw and genuine in an era of increasingly choreographed entertainment. This wasn't just a wrestler, this was a narrative, a living, breathing representation of rural American identity, thrust into the glaring lights of professional wrestling's most mainstream moment. At WrestleMania 3, Hillbilly Jim serves as a symbol of an entire demographic often overlooked by mainstream entertainment. The combatants of this bout seemed mismatched by design. Hillbilly Jim and his miniature allies, the Haiti Kid and Little Beaver, against King Kong Bundy and his own diminutive team. The rules were surgical in their precision. Only midgets could engage with midgets, with the Titans Bundy and Jim relegated to the margins. King Kong Bundy, a 458-pound walking condominium, embodied pure, unrestrained aggression. Hillbilly Jim stood as a rural sentinel, a protective figure representing something deeper than mere physical presence. The match's pivotal moment came when Little Beaver, that pint-sized provocateur, defied all expectations. Facing Bundy, a man whose body weight could obliterate him, he executed a dropkick, not just a move, but a statement of pure, audacious rebellion. Bundy's response was predictably brutal: a body slam, a crushing elbow, violations of the match's delicate social contract. The result was an instant disqualification, but the true victory wasn't in the technical outcome, but in the spirit of resistance. This was performance art exploring power dynamics, where courage was measured not in pounds, but in spirit. Hillbilly Jim's mixed tag team match became a metaphorical landscape where rules were both framework and challenge, where size was merely a variable, not a determinant. In that moment of controlled chaos, wrestling revealed itself as something more than spectacle, a nuanced storytelling form where every movement carried symbolic weight, every interaction a complex dialogue of power and defiance. The journey that brought Hillbilly Jim to this pinnacle is as compelling as the moment itself, a story of transformation, authenticity, and unexpected triumph. Born James Morris on July 5, 1952 in Scottsville, Kentucky, Jim's early life was far removed from the bright lights of professional wrestling. Scottsville, a small rural town nestled in the Appalachian Mountains, shaped him in ways that would later define his wrestling persona. The region, known for its rugged terrain and even more rugged inhabitants, instilled in Jim a sense of resilience that would become his trademark. Growing up in a working-class family, Morris understood hard work intimately. Agricultural labor wasn't an abstract concept, but a daily reality. This early experience would later inform his wrestling character, not as a caricature, but as a genuine representation of a cultural archetype. Yet, professional wrestling wasn't an immediate calling. Like many young men from his region, Jim's initial path seemed destined for manual labor or local employment. Morris discovered his passion for wrestling through the captivating spectacle of Georgia Championship Wrestling. His entry into this world began serendipitously when he crossed paths with Bruce Swayze at the Bowling Green High School gym, where Morris had already earned accolades as an all-state basketball player before becoming a champion weightlifter. Launching his career under his real name, he sharpened his skills in Stu Hart's legendary Stampede Wrestling and various North American promotions. Reinventing himself in the Continental Wrestling Association, Morris adopted the persona of Harley Davidson, a rebellious biker character that cemented his early presence in the Memphis wrestling scene. But the best was still yet to come. Entering the World Wrestling Federation in the mid-1980s, Hillbilly Jim arrived during a transformative period for professional wrestling. Vince McMahon was revolutionizing the industry, turning wrestling from a regional attraction into a national spectacle. And Hillbilly Jim fit perfectly into this new landscape. First appearing as Big Jim, the transformation into Hillbilly Jim wasn't a calculated marketing strategy, but an organic evolution. Instead of creating a stereotypical character, Morris infused the persona with genuine characteristics from his background. The overalls, the beard, the mannerisms, these weren't costumes but extensions of his actual identity. The character resonated because it wasn't contrived. Hillbilly Jim was James Morris, amplified. This approach not only differentiated him from other wrestlers, but also created a lasting connection with fans who saw him as authentic and relatable. His debut was memorable. Unlike many wrestlers who entered with aggressive personas, Jim brought a disarming, folksy charm. He wasn't threatening, he was familiar and affable. Fans saw in him not a performer, but a representation of a genuine American archetype, the good-hearted, hard-working rural individual. Early on, Hillbilly Jim was presented as a fan who had been plucked from the audience to train under Hulk Hogan's guidance. This storyline not only added depth to his character, but also aligned him with the Federation's biggest star at the time. The mentorship of Hogan, a wrestler synonymous with strength and virtue, further solidified Jim's image as a pure and noble competitor. Hillbilly Jim's first major singles victory came on February 18, 1985, at the War to Settle the Score, where he triumphed over René Goulet. Days later, disaster struck when he injured his knee while chasing Johnny V at ringside during a match involving Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake in San Diego. Sidelined for 6 months, Jim remained a presence by managing his newly introduced family members, Uncle Elmer, Cousin Luke, and Cousin Junior, each clad in the same hillbilly-inspired attire. This creative pivot kept his character alive while he recovered from the setback. Upon returning to the ring, Jim frequently joined forces with his family or the legendary Andre the Giant, creating memorable alliances. He became a staple opponent for the Federation's towering villains of the era, including Big John Studd. Morris also engaged in a brief but colorful feud with Don Muraco and Mr. Fuji, culminating in a series of unconventional tuxedo matches in late 1986, adding a theatrical flair to his repertoire. Hillbilly Jim was crafted as a light-hearted, crowd-pleasing character, steering clear of intense storylines. His entrance was marked by the lively tune "Don't Go Messin' with a Country Boy," which he joyfully danced to alongside his partners, the ring announcer, or even children from the audience. He made his WrestleMania debut at WrestleMania 2 on April 7, 1986, competing in the star-studded Battle Royal. But the pinnacle of Jim's visibility came at WrestleMania 3, as mentioned earlier. Teaming with Haiti Kid and Little Beaver against King Kong Bundy, Little Tokyo, and Lord Littlebrook, Jim represented a spirit of inclusivity and good-natured competition that resonated with fans. While the match itself may not have been a technical masterpiece, its charm lay in its entertainment value. Hillbilly Jim's presence elevated the bout, making it one of the evening's lighter yet memorable moments. For many fans, his genuine enthusiasm and unpretentious demeanor stood in stark contrast to the larger-than-life egos dominating the card. At Survivor Series on November 24, 1988, Hillbilly Jim joined forces with Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Hercules, and Coco Beware to triumph over Big Boss Man, Akeem, Ted DiBiase, King Haku, and the Red Rooster. Jim's most notable rivalry came with King Kong Bundy, a massive, intimidating wrestler who represented everything Jim was not. Their encounters weren't just matches, but narrative confrontations between different representations of masculinity and wrestling style. Bundy's brute force clashed with Jim's resilience and resourcefulness, creating a compelling storyline that highlighted their contrasting personas. Jim's tag team partnerships, particularly with figures like Uncle Elmer, further cemented his place in wrestling mythology. The camaraderie between Jim and his partners brought humor and heart to the Federation, making their matches fan favorites. In June 1989, Hillbilly Jim stepped in to replace John Studd, who abruptly exited the Federation during a heated rivalry with Andre the Giant. His final high-profile match came on April 28, 1990, at Saturday Night's Main Event, where he was defeated by Earthquake. Later that year, Jim parted ways with the Federation and retired from wrestling, though he briefly returned in 1991 for house show matches against Colonel Mustafa and the Berserker, offering fans a fleeting encore of his larger-than-life persona. 10 years later, Jim made a nostalgic return at WrestleMania 17 in 2001, competing in the Gimmick Battle Royal and finishing as the runner-up, eliminated by the Iron Sheik. In 2018, his enduring contributions to wrestling were honored with an induction into the Hall of Fame. For fans, Hillbilly Jim represents a bygone era of wrestling, a time when authenticity and character mattered as much as athletic ability. He stands as a reminder that wrestling, at its core, is about connection and storytelling. Thank you for watching.